What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to the Last American Outlaw podcast. Today, we're here with Mike. We got Mike on the mic, you know, my ballistic engineer, Mike, and we are talking the 300 PRC. I am personally a 300 PRC fanboy. I'm in with the Hornady machine, but Mike has another thought.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of the Hornady machine. Not saying I love their products, but I just don't know why on the 300 PRC. I don't know why we have it.
So this is going to be kind of a unique experience. Mike, at his former job, got to be a part of the discussion on getting it into the government on 300 PRC versus 300 Norma, and kind of give us some insight on that.
So we all sat down and we're looking at the pros and cons as we look at the ASR, PSR programs, and to go, okay, what do we need here? We need a new cartridge, or I would say cartridges have advanced beyond 300 Win Mag, right? Because that's the Magnum cartridge outside of 338 Lapua.
Lapua.
Yeah, I always say it wrong. I say Lapua, so sorry, guys. 300 Win Mag has worked well, and it does well. There's drawbacks with the way we load that cartridge. So with the 300 PRC, they're like, oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Well, as we've talked before, Magnum bolt faces everything within that category of a long action Magnum bolt face. And within 30 cal, there is no damn difference. There's just really not enough differences, assuming you use the same bullet and the same barrel length. There's just not enough.
Okay, so hunters, I know this is the podcast for you, but we're talking why it's in the military right now. So the 300 Win Mag is really a great cartridge. It's really a great cartridge. It's loaded wrong because it's loaded with 190 grain Sierra Match King. For the military.
They do make the 220 Sierra Match King, which gets it a lot closer. But when you compare it on a ballistics calculator, pick one, doesn't matter, against the Hornady 212 ELDX or ELD match style bullets, you're like, man, that's really good. As soon as you take that same bullet and put in a 300 Win Mag, you're like, wait a minute, wait a second. And so to me, when you evaluate cases on the military side, there's a couple attributes that you need to look for. You know, barrel life, a little bit of recoil management, but damn guns are so bloody heavy, it doesn't matter too much. Barrel life's a huge one. And then like, what does it actually do? What is it giving you range wise, right? When we're looking at the comparison between, let's just say a Win Mag or a PRC, they got more or less the same case capacity. And somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, it's got a grain more. Yeah, okay. And pick a different piece of brass and it's going to be different, right? So
Lyman Hazelton told me, so across the board on Doppler radar. And if you don't know who Lyman is the premier ballistician in the United States. He's the only one that's actually an MIT scientist. He landed a rocket on Mercury and he missed his target. What was like 180,000 miles or something. He missed it by half a mile. So like in the X-ring shot, he hit the corner of the X and not the center of the X, right?
Yeah.
And so he told me on Doppler, it actually doesn't matter. Same bullet, right? Same bullet. Doesn't matter unless it's going 150 feet per second faster. Doesn't change anything. So the 300 Win Mag versus the 300 PRC, there's no difference other than they did kind of what Nosler did on the 28 Nosler to the 7 STW.
Yeah.
They cut the cartridge down to where you can fit a longer bullet inside of there because you have longer bearing surface, longer ogive. Fit the bullet down inside of there just a little bit better and put a bigger bullet in so you can shoot a more ballistic coefficient bullet out of it.
So really so I've built numerous 300 Win Mags and a couple of 300 PRCs. 90% of the time I've never run into a magazine length problem with either a BDL or a detachable mag, especially because of the 338 Lapuas with the CIP length. So the whole argument of I fit it in a long action, okay, pretty much every long action can handle a CIP length detachable bottom metal, especially when you look in the custom realm or any type of, the guns that you're going to do this with. So it's kind of like a selling point. Yes, it's a better cartridge design, gets rid of the belt. We don't need that. It's a straight body. It's a better taper. You do have more bearing surface to hold the bullet in the optimal position with inside the case. It gives you allows you to run a longer bullet with a longer bearing surface, especially the 212s or 240s or something like that. But you can still do it in a 300 Win Mag very safely, very easily, and without going crazy custom 4-inch internal, box magazine like you had to do with the Lapus when you started running 300 grain bullets and actually running them at the length that you wanted to, which was like mine's like a 395 overall length, which is a whole different podcast on the difference between the Lapus and the Normas. So I think the PRC is a great case design, but you can do the exact same thing with 300 Win Mag. Like
I agree. It is a 300 Win Mag, right? Yeah. Like the 28 Nosler is a 7 STW. We'll do another one on the 28 Nosler, but it is the same thing.
That one's a little different, but so from the military perspective, I was kind of like, I just put the right bullet in the damn 300 Win Mag and throw the damn barrels the same and call it a day.
Well, so correct me here, but the military didn't want the 300 Norma for shooting at angles. Explain that.
So the argument, I guess, which I'm not really sure if it was truly an argument, for certain groups that were higher than us said that when you shoot at extreme angles with the Norma, because of its the amount of powder you put in that case, it changes the powder column within it, right? So instead of effectively there'd be an air gap behind the primer before it would hit at the powder.
Which would make sense because you're on a steep angle, so you're shooting 30 degrees down.
Yeah, so if you're shooting at all these really, really weird angles, you want to have a very full case.
Yeah,
right?
Or out of a helicopter would make sense, right? Off a steep mountain, out of a helicopter, in a stadium. Okay.
Yeah, something really steep. But what the heck am I using a PRC or a Magnum for to do that? Long cross canyon, got it. Yes. Down angle, yes, got it. But I think having, us having done that so many times, you got to be really steep. Like, what am I really shooting at that distance? Where in the world am I possibly shooting at those distances? That it matters, because what does it really change? Is it changing my standard deviation? Is it changing my velocity? Is it an ignition reliability problem? Ultimately, when you look at, and it's all open source stuff, I mean, you're going to see 300 PRCs and you're going to see 300 Normas and you're seeing 338 Normas and the ASR PSRs.
So basically, without having any hard data, there was only assumptions that they would have an issue with this at angles.
I think it was a matter of, hey, we tried this and we had issues with it. But I also know that when they shot your PRC, your 300s, your Norma and your PRC against each other, your Norma performs better. It gives you more velocity, especially with the heavy bullets.
I have shot a lot in the mountains. I've killed a lot of animals in the mountains. What is the PC term for this? I've harvested a lot of animals in the mountains. I'm not PC, guys. I don't care. We have liberalized. I don't care. Listen, this is going to piss a lot of y'all off. We have liberalized guns. Like, oh my gosh, we got to use the right words, like we're harvesting animals. No, I killed a big elk.
Yeah, we killed a lot of shit in the mountains. That's really the way to say it.
That's right. We killed a lot of shit in the mountains. And so
that's stupid angles sometimes.
I have killed.
Sure, you didn't want to walk down, by the way.
I have. We'll get to that story. Okay, let me tell you about my 300 PRC. I did it, and this started the argument with Mike and I about a year ago. I went oryx hunting with a 6.5 PRC, and the first oryx I ever saw, I have Sway with me, I have my daughter with me, we're riding in the buggy. This oryx gets up like 200 meters from us, and I was like, at the same time Heidi saw it, I'm like, is that thing a zoo animal? Like, it's the first one I ever seen. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I was like, oh, no, that's my oryx. And so I didn't know how to judge it. I didn't know anything, right? They're a once in a lifetime hunt, but I have a private ranch. So I take the 6.5 PRC, I get off the back of the buggy, I whack him, boom, oryx runs, I whack him again, boom, drop him because I hit him high on the spine while he was running. I decided, because we were hunting next to a military installation, White Sands, New Mexico is where we hunt oryx, and we're hunting next to a military installation. If you shoot something and it goes over the fence, you don't get to get it. So it kind of goes out of the game of, look, I realize where we went as an industry where we said we want to go to the big magnums, and everybody went all the way to the 300 Normas and the 338 Lapuas. Then that phase kicked off, and then they came back and they said, how small can we make this magnum? And, then they did the 300 WSM. That was a real big rave. And then 6.5 SAUM with George. And I hold the Cold War world record with the 6.5 SAUM. It's a great cartridge. And then I have the 6.5 PRC that I got from George. It was a gap built. And after I shot it, I was like, all right, I don't think that this gun has enough ass for me to continue to use it. So we start going, and I say, all right, what I want is when I decide that I'm going to shoot for how I hunt. Now, this is really important because I don't know where you hunt. And Mike's going to give us a different perspective, but I hunt New Mexico and Texas a lot. My hunts are this: inside of 500 meters, usually if it's a deer, or now I know after an oryx or an aoudad, they're going to get up. You're going to spook them because you got up on them. You spook them. They run 300 yards. They turn around and look at you. You have about 3 seconds for a shot. So what you have to do is you have to find them. You see them running, throw your gun up on them, get them on them, take the safety off, follow them, keep your crosshairs on them. When they stop, touch the trigger, because that's all the time you have. Which is why whenever TV guys come and hunt with me, they're like, I don't understand why it's so hard to film out here. Yeah, because you just don't have time to film the damn thing. You just got to shoot it.
Yeah, you just got to go.
So I needed something that I could say, what could I minimally hold over? Like the old guys had it right. Big magnums, hold it on their back. What could I minimally hold it over? Because it goes back to, I had James here. So James is a friend of mine, friend of ours, and he was a sniper, or he went to sniper school. He wasn't the sniper. He went to sniper school. Him and I both missed a really big, gigantic, freaking huge, big monster whitetail. And we missed it because we thought, oh, he's like 3-something and we have to dial while he's running. And we couldn't, both of us are trying to say, what's the range? What are we dialing? What are we trying? And then we were like, this is stupid. There's got to be something that can just hit them. Laser beam. And then after 600 meters, you have time to talk. I could talk to you in this voice right here and say, hey, this is a 600 meter. He's out there. This is what the wind's doing. This is what we have time to dial.
Yeah. Or they're just gone and it didn't matter anyway. You're taking a run. I mean,
yeah,
they're gone. They're busted.
So we have time to stop and say, hey, at 600 meters, they're feeding and we snuck up on them and we're this far away. At 100 meters, you bust them and they run. All right. So what is the best caliber for that? Because that's how I'm going to 1 to 5 and then 5+. This is where I live. And so 28 Nosler was obviously a choice. And I started looking and said, no, I would really like to have that 30 caliber bullet, because while I want to prepare for me to make the perfect shot every time I fire my gun, I don't want to prepare for that. I don't want to plan for that. I want to plan for the chance that I have a bad wind call, the chance that an ant bites me while I shoot, the chance that I don't hit that animal. Once again, this isn't PC, but everybody's like, oh, I got to have the most ethical shot. You do. Try to get your ethical shot. But what happens if you mess that up and you hit him in the hindquarters?
Yeah. I think nobody intends to not have an ethical shot. It's I was a little cold. I was shaking. I thought I was good. And then, I flinched at the last second and all of a sudden I gut shot something, or I hit it in the hindquarter, or I shot it too forward. I shot it too low, or whatever. So you need to have that margin of error. You do. You need to have that margin of error. And that margin of error for me was that 212 grain ELD bullet. Now, I will tell you, 5 years ago, I would have said Hornady does not scream quality. I didn't want Hornady brass. I didn't want Hornady bullets. I didn't want any of it. Today, I'm going to say it's hard to beat the Hornady ELDX. It just is. I don't know. I'm not changing bullets for a while. Somebody else is going to have to convince me, because I've seen Burgers fail. I don't see too many Noslers fail, except at long range, they don't do good. I think bullets are always about what they wanted them to, It's trade-offs. I mean, every bullet manufacturer is going to say it's a trade-off between what do you want it to do at close range? What did you want it to do at long range? And how did you want it to kill, right? So the Burger is designed to kind of go in fragment. There's great videos on that versus like a Barnes. Barnes doesn't fragment. It opens, controlled expansion, and plows a hole. Depends on what you wanted to use it for and what the game is. So you kind of match your bullet to your game. But anyway, yeah, the ELDX, that's a dang good bullet.
Oh, dude, it's a killing bullet.
But that's what I'm saying when we say the 300 Win Mag and the 300 PRC. If you put the 212 ELDX, which I think is the best bullet in a 30 cal for a Magnum to shoot, yeah, put it in anything you want, and it does exactly the same. There's nothing unique.
I think it's about 40 feet per second faster in the PRC, right? Or are they
no, I think if you load the PRC in a Win Mag, you can load them the same with the same bullet, and they are going to give you the same velocity. When you jump up to the Norma, you're just talking much more case capacity. You're going to push it a lot faster.
Okay. All right. So we got a good argument about this. First, I want to tell you this story. So this is why I like the PRC. Mike has a valid point on why not just have a 300 Win Mag. He really does. He has a very valid point on why not have a 300 Win Mag, and I can't argue it.
And I got another cool point on that one too that happened this last year. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. So I am with one of my buddies who is a sniper instructor for a big military branch. Last year, I have a Cal Elk permit. He has a Cal Elk permit. We're joshing each other back and forth, and he starts telling me, he starts telling me that I can't make a shot. I'm like, no, I can make this shot. Because we were just doing it. Like, we were just shooting 1,800 meters with the 300 PRC. Now, mind you, I had Bobby Hart, R.W. Hart and Sons, build this 300 PRC for me. I built it on a Defiance action. I think I got one of the very first Defiance Ruckuses in the long action. I built it on a BSF barrel and a Manners EH1 stock, and I put the Cullis, the 4-24, 3-24, something like that on it. And I bought factory ammo, and my factory ammo was running 28.75 out of that 24-inch barrel.
All right.
It was a hammer. I could literally put 5 factory rounds in a half-minute group. When I tell you guys half-minute groups, I mean outside to outside, I shoot a half-minute group with this gun. To most people, you'll say that's one bullet hole, right?
Oh, yeah. They're all touching. They're not even all touching. They're all in a clover leaf together.
Yeah, they're all in a clover leaf together, yeah. And so my buddy tells me, you can't hit this. And I'm like, yeah, because there's kind of this thing where there are a lot of people that are trying to shoot an animal at a mile. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So I had my Leica rangefinders, and I range him at 1601, 1609, 1604, 1604, 1604 meters, 1604 meters. And so I dialed the dope for the 1604 meters set up. I had to get elevated, so I wasn't able to load my bipod. Factory 212 ELDX 300 PRC, 1604 meters is what I dialed. Boom, touch it off. He's spotting for me. I'm calling my own wind because he sucks at calling the wind. I don't care what anybody says. He knows better too. You know.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. and so I'm calling my own wind, and I called it as a 7-mile-an-hour wind. And it was coming down the valley. And I'm like, where did I hit? He's like, I don't know. I didn't see anything. I'm like, I'm going to go up a 10th and try again. All right. Because when you're shooting that far, your a 10th is a lot, but you could also be a 10th off in just your range, right?
Oh, easy. I mean, that's really the hardest part about, we say shooting a target. Like we got the big guns, the Shytex and things like that. It'll go farther than we'll ever shoot accurately. It's the ranging of those targets. And so when you see those real long target competitions, they're ranging the broadside of a barn damn near, because a smaller target you can't range, even with those Leicas. And we have the same ones, the 3200s. That 10 power is the only way to range something accurately at that kind of distance. And even then, if it's a little bit of brush, there's a little bit of a beam divergence that you have to work with there. That's why, good laser range finding techniques are important. So, but yeah, if you're off 5 meters, 10 meters,
you're a miss. You miss,
you
right?
Might miss, yeah.
So I go up and I fire again, and I still don't see anything because he's in like a bunch of oak brush. And I'm like, So I'm like, hey, bro, I'm going to go down I'm going to go up another 10th. He's like, I don't think you should go up another 10th. And he's figuring out the math. He's like, that's too much. So I look over and there's a rock, a big white rock. And we had just been shooting those rocks in another canyon. And I'm like, see that rock? He's like, yep. I said, I'm going to shoot at that rock. He's like, okay. It's the same distance, like within a meter, right? It's like ranging at 1605. So I turn over, boom, fire. Oh, I'm a 10th high. So I drop it down a 10th. Go back over to the elk. I'm like, all right, are you ready? Yep. All right, here we go. Boom, fire. I eject the bolt. I eject the round, put another round in, but I don't close the bolt because I don't want it to heat up. Remember that whenever you fire and you have to wait in between shots, if you put that round back in there, you start heating that powder up, it's going to go faster. So then I start and I'm watching I recoil completely off target and I'm watching the wind and I'm like, okay, here's what's the wind doing? I know that I didn't hit it. I get back on target. I'm looking through my glass. I'm like, okay, I didn't hit it. He's like, I think it moved a little bit. And I'm like, dude, it didn't move a little bit. And he's like, I'm telling you, I think it moved a little bit. And I'm like, I don't think so. So I look back, I'm getting my wind call. I'd figured out my wind call. I'm waiting on the gust. I close my bolt. I'm setting back on it. I'm getting up. I look through my scope. I start taking my breaths and I tell him, are you ready? And he's like, yeah, but at that time, that elk just falls over and rolls down the mountain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just killed this elk at 1,604 meters.
Did you fire a second? No.
And so he was like jumping up and down. We're hugging each other. It's like freaking awesome, right? Yeah. Maybe not that much, but close. And then we sit there and he figures for a minute and I'm like, wow, I cannot believe I did that. Then I'm looking, I'm like, holy cow, the walk to go get this thing is going to be miserable. And I'm trying to figure out how to mark where I can go get it, right? And after we do it, he stops and he's like, hey, bro, do you realize if you would have taken 2 steps back, you'd have shot it at a mile? And I said, you sorry, POS, what kind of friend are you?
I would have said you were back 2 steps. I would have just said, that's a mile, man. Get a t-shirt made. Let's go.
No, bro. Bro, what kind of friend doesn't say just step back? You're making another world record shot and you don't want to tell me to step back?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we can be friends anymore. I still think
that's Blue Falcon. Blue Falcon right there.
Well, that's probably still a world record. I'm going to call it a world record on a cow elk. But yeah, freaking jerk didn't tell me. Anyway, so that factory ammo, 300 PRC, 212 grain ELDX, custom rifle. I killed an elk at 1,604 meters. Now you had a story. What was your story?
Well, I would say on that is yes.
I'm awesome. I know.
Yeah. Of course. And I'll give you a mile. It did.
No, it doesn't count. We still have to go for a mile.
Okay. We'll do it again. It killed it, but it didn't have anything to do with the PRC. You know what I mean? It had everything to do with you calling the wind, you having a good load.
Awesomeness.
Your awesomeness. Like you could have done that with a Win Mag. You could have done, the better choice would have been a 338 anything.
No, so I agree. Like, look, in hindsight, I even broke my own rules shooting at it, except I knew the bullet would still open. I was still at like 1,426 feet per second at that range.
Which is why you were getting the delayed killing. Because if I remember correctly, what he doesn't tell you is when he goes down and finds it, he sees 2 bullet holes in this freaking elk because your first call was right. Your second call also killed it. It just took that, you had that delayed onset killing effect because it didn't really do what you needed to do because it wasn't really enough, but it worked.
It worked. It opened up and it did it, but it didn't do it with the power, which is why I like to find the 1,000 foot-pounds of energy.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do it, right?
Yeah. And I like, so where we go a little differently on that, I like a little bit more. I would say, yes, you can kill things just fine at 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. Lots of people have done it. But I like 1,500 for elk.
And I'd say most guys will say, I go down to 1,000 because I've done it a bunch.
But again,
the standard is 1,200 and now you're saying 1,500.
I like 1,500 because so hunting, overkill's authorized. Like there is no such thing as overkill. I shot it. And when you think at people like, oh, but it's wasting meat or something like that. All right, man. Like, if you watch people and you see where they put bullet placement, even on a deer, the front, there's a guy in the Midwest, he shot 300 WSM out of a tree stand, shooting 200 yards. Like, bro, bring enough gun, right? Okay, yeah, way overkill. And he's like, yeah, put it on the front shoulder, pull the trigger. He's shooting 180-inch whitetail, 200-inch whitetail. He wants it to fall right there, not run over the fence. It wants to bang, flop. That's what he wants. And he knows the front quarters are pretty much bloodshot, just blasted off. So don't tell me it was an ethical thing more so than me telling you I should shoot a 338, Lapu or a Shytech at an elk, and I want 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. So I like a little more energy. I like a bigger bullet just for hunting, but we kind of sidestep that PRC thing a little bit. To me, the benefits of that PRC are the factory ammo, but that's also the downside. So at Montana this last year, two of the guns that were up there were guns that I built in 300 Win Mag. We walk into the store in the middle of nowhere, Montana, and guess what they have on the shelf? In the middle of the horrible ammo crisis, we have 300 Win Mag. Funny enough, here's some HSM. Oh, it's got Burger. All right, cool. Oh, here's another one. Oh, look, here's some. Look at that, the Hornady ELD X. It was a 200 grainers, which kind of sucks. Thank you, Hornady, for not loading the 212s in there. No, not thank you, actually. What isn't on the shelf? 300 Norma's on the shelf. What the heck? There is no 300 PRC to be found.
So, but in our part of the world, in pretty much every gun shop in Texas and New Mexico, I find 300 PRC. Even in this ammo crunch, 300 PRC is on the shelves. Maybe a box or two. And we don't always have to say, this is the end of 2021 and ammo's going to come back. And with the Hornady machine, the reason why I like the 300 PRC so much is that the Hornady machine is always going to have 300 PRC.
Oh, yeah,
ammo.
They're gonna make that. That is their cartridge. Unlike what they were doing before, was just building bullets and brass for all those things. That is their cartridge, just like the 6.5 PRC. I mean, that's their cartridge. And even when you go down to the smaller ones on the ARs, like the ARC and stuff, those are going to be really good long term. The 300 PRC is the next 300 Win Mag, right? We had the 300 Win Mag for 60 plus years. Okay, we're gonna probably have the PRC for that long.
That's right.
Are we still gonna have Are we still gonna have Win Mag? Yeah, because it's still going to do the job.
All right, so the 300 PRC, you're right. For the next 60 years, it's going to be the cartridge. Hornady's not letting it go. Steve Hornady is a genius. He really does make quality. And I'm not knocking anybody else. John Nosler, still makes probably one of the best killing bullets there is. Burger does really well with their bullets. But there's nobody that I know of today at the end of 2021. SHOT Show's coming up. We're going to look at some stuff. But right now, being able to buy Hornady Match ELDX hunting ammo for a 300 PRC, I mean, at that point, I'm like, dude,
you don't even need to reload for it.
Yeah, I have $10,000 worth of reloading stuff, and I don't even need to reload for it.
Yeah, no, that's like that in the 6.5, in my mind, because they did such a good job with designing the reamer. And that's where it comes down to the differences in, we talk about throat and everything else in the bullets you're shooting. The Win Mag was so old, and that's where like, oh my God, you can't put a 220 or 240 in that thing. Like, yeah, you can. What did you throat it for? Like, what is it set up to do? Well, you can't take a 28 nozzler. It's designed for these lighter bullets. You can't put a 195 Burger in it. Yeah, you can. What throat did you put in it? Call proof. Get a pre-fit. It works perfect. Got one. Been there, done that. Check the block. So if you do that stuff right, what Hornady did really, really well was they built the reamer, Sammy'd it, everything for their bullets, for that cartridge. And it's just done. It's perfect the way it is. You don't need to dick with it. You don't need to reload for it. If you're getting, to me, I guess if you aren't reloading, you don't have a surplus of 300 Win Mag ammo or brass, you don't have other things like that. You're looking for a one and done. I need a 300. I want a 300 because I don't want to listen to Mike and I don't want to buy the 338 or a 28 nozzler and I want a 300. Then, okay. I mean, and go buy 1,000 rounds of that thing and be happy. Go buy as many rounds as you can and that you can find, and then keep finding it, and then shoot it. And I think it'll be a good gun. I think it's a good cartridge. If you have a 300 Win Mag, don't go ditching that thing to go buy a PRC.
That's right. But okay, so here's my take on it. All right. If you don't have a 300 Win Mag, I say the the advancements in technology in whatever it is they're going to do there is done, and they improved it in the 300 PRC. I think from here on out, you will see only more and more 300 PRC on the shelves. Now, they had to do it. They made it a non-belted. They made it just a little bit smaller to put the bigger bullet in there. All of that stuff. I know that why they did it. And also because they need to drive sales, right?
Exactly. They needed something new. They needed something for the new guy to go out and be like, oh man, I need this new thing because it's going to be the thing that kills. And we're going to give it to all our sponsors and they're going to go out and kill the biggest deer in the world. And we're like, thank you. I got it. Cool. I do the same thing. Got it. Hey, send me one. I'll do it. Right.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, so they came out with something new, but what they did was basically they advanced the 300 Win Mag as much as it could be advanced. They designed a reamer for it, and then they built a load for it.
And they packaged it, and it's done.
And it's done.
Now, and I would go as far as saying they have optimized 30 caliber magnums in a long action, which I would argue that you probably don't need a 30 caliber magnum in a short action. They've optimized. There isn't really a better 30 caliber magnum. And I say magnum bolt face because in a long action, I think there's better 30 calibers. Specifically your Normas.
Okay. And I don't think the Norma is better, but let's just talk about that for a second. Here's why. So we decided, here's something. I know most guys, you go out and you're a hunter. You may buy a Remington 700. Maybe they don't exist anymore. Maybe you buy a Remington. Maybe you buy a Savage. I don't know what you're buying. Maybe you go to Seekins and buy a Havoc. I shot with a friend of mine that has a Havoc, and it was a good rifle. I build custom rifles. I build them because it's my hobby. It's what I love to do. While you guys are at home watching this video, I'm literally studying ballistics on the next caliber and the next bullet. Like, that's what I do. When I'm talking to my wife and she's watching Yellowstone, I'm listening to Yellowstone, and I'm like, what freaking load am I going to be able to put in this next gun?
Then he's calling me and saying, "Oh, dude, do you think we could put a 20-inch barrel, 28 nozzler?" And I'm like, hold on, let me run the computer numbers. And I start doing it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, we could, but it's going to be like going like 2,600 feet per second. Like, why?
Or you're going to put so much pressure in there, you're going to blow the gun up, Trey.
Yeah. Oh, no. I totally can run this at 3,000 feet per second. No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes,
I can. Like, what did you put in there? A stainless steel case? Like, it's going to blow up, dude.
So that's literally what we do, right? You guys are doing this and we're doing that. All right. So I built the first one, and then I realized in the involvement of putting a silencer on your gun, we are really good friends with Bobby West of CGS Suppressor or CGS silencers. He makes an amazing silencer. Well, we've learned that, and if you have a 26-inch barrel and then you add that 7-inch silencer, it sucks to maneuver that gun. So we sat down and we decided, how short can I go on this barrel? Well, I can tell you. Now, remember, my 24-inch 300 PRC with factory ammo was shooting 28.75. Then I killed an elk at 1,604 meters with it, and I killed like 200 freaking aoudad with it. I mean, I smoked them aoudad with it. And we killed some oryx. We killed, I took the Marines out, and they're all snipers. And yet you both know who you are, the little girls. And they never could hit right? So they never could get the actual kill shot. Well, that 300 PRC did like major damage to them in their bad shots.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
It's overkill at 200 meters for anything, right?
Oh yeah. Or 400 meters. It's bad, dude. And it did the damage that it needed to do. All right. We came up with we did a number 5 Brooks barrel. We did a number 5 Brooks barrel. We realized the 8 twist was too much. We did a 9 twist. Number 5 Brooks barrel at 20 inches. What we found out is that jumps a little bit too much. It doesn't recoil too much. It jumps a little too much. As a matter of fact, Sway had his freaking scope set back too far. It scoped me in the nose. Never been scoped me right in the freaking nose. Almost, oof. Sway, when you listen to this, you know.
Coming for you.
So anyway, we figured out that a number 6 barrel or a Bartland number 4 barrel, right? That 5-pound barrel cut at 20 inches with a suppressor on it is the best for the 300 PRC. And then we reloaded it. Now, this is where Mike always thinks we're crazy, because this is why I reload. I don't need to reload because Hornady literally their ammo has figured it out. I reload because
24-inch barrel though. Let's
out of 24-inch barrel. 24-inch barrel. It was running 28.75. We've taken this and got 80G brass. Now, mind you, I bumped the shoulders down. We turned the necks. We chamfered them. I have that powder pressure shooting. I'm not going to give you my load. I have it shooting 28.65. I mean, I'm sorry, 29.65 with a standard deviation of 6. So I'm able to push a 20-inch barrel harder than you can push factory. So I actually,
mind you, I don't want to say he's going to blow it up, because that is probably very safe, because of we still look for the pressure signs as we go, and that load isn't necessarily over pressured. It may be over pressured in somebody else's gun, so don't just say I'm going to cut my barrel down and go do that. But I think it's
so we had this conversation with Bobby.
Yeah, just Bobby yesterday.
Yeah, so Bobby Hart, you guys need to look him up. RW Hart, 5th generation gunsmith. Like, he has forgot more about long range than we'll ever know. It's just he didn't stay popular with the machine of the tactical world. Yeah. He's very popular in the hunting world. If you're a hunter, you know who he is. If you're in the tactical world, you don't know who he is. Well, he's kind of one of the pioneers, literally.
Yeah.
When you go to the Harrisburg show, they said he is the father of long range shooting, because in the 70s when it was starting to, Bob was the one talking about it.
Yeah.
He said last night, he said, look, Trey, you cannot tell me what that computer says off pressures, because Mike has quick load and he'll do all the computer program. You can't, it'll give you an idea, but you can't decide that and say, this is exactly where I'm going to be. I push my calibers as hard as I can push them. And when I see flat primers and ejector marks, I know I'm too hot, and I back it off just a little bit right there to my next node. And that's what I do to the 300 PRC. And with a 20-inch barrel and a can, I'm pushing that freaking thing 29.50.
Which is amazing. And it completely changes the rifle setup that you could go, what you can go after. Because shooting with suppressors it's not just for tactical, it's for everything.
Oh, it's for everything. So this is the first full year that I've had suppressors on my guns, and I have severe hearing loss in my left ear from firearms. I have severe hearing loss in my right ear from them. My girls, when I'm trying to talk to them and make sure they're safe and make sure that they understand we're shooting at what we're shooting at, and them not being scared of the big gigantic cut boom, and not even to say the animal literally has no idea where you're shooting at.
Oh yeah,
it's freaking crazy. Yep. And so it's nice to have that, because then they're not thinking about it.
Oh yeah, and it makes the entire experience just so much better. I mean, I know we're talking about suppressors a little bit now, but I've been hunting with them for quite a few years now, and as soon as I did, I was like, yep, I'll deal with this added length. And mind you, I was running a 27-inch barrel on the Lapua and then strapping a 9-inch can on. I mean, I should have stuck a knife on the end and just use it as a pike to, use it as bayonet the things to death. But yeah, it's game changing. Like if you're not, I don't want to hunt with a suppressor, you need to. It's just, that's the end of it. And there is no, I don't know. No, you need to.
Yeah. And now that the ATF is changing the laws, we'll talk about that in another podcast. They're changing the laws. You need to check our website.
Well, not changing the laws. They're changing the process in which you.
The process. Okay. The laws are staying the same. The process is changing to where you'll be able to get it in 30 days. You'll be able to get a suppressor in 2022 in 30 days. All right.
Assuming it's in stock anyway.
Assuming it's in stock. It's not going to be in stock. I'll try to have some in stock so you guys can check out the website, aolisdefense.com and AmericanOutlawNation.com. All right. We also have all the merch that you've been looking for, all those t-shirts and hats that you want, because you're one of the last American Outlaws. We got them, but we need your support. We need you to buy some. Like, it helps us. Like, it's expensive, and I do not like asking people for money, so it is expensive for this stuff. I have literally spent $25,000 in camera stuff in the last 3 weeks, and like, my wife is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. All right. So, anyway, I'm going to pitch this to Mike, because Mike is really the guy. We have had this conversation 1,000 times, and he's like, why the 300 PRC? It didn't need to be here. It's a cartridge that didn't need to be here. The truth is, all cartridges have already been done. Okay. The 6XC that David Tubb came out with was the 22x6 that Bobby Hart came out with in the 70s. what are some other ones? The 28 Nosler is the 7 STW. The 26 Nosler is the 264 Win Mag.
Any of the small action like calibers, they're all just like
the 6.5 Creedmoor is a 260. You know what I mean? Like
there's like, okay, yes, you drew it differently.
Yeah, you changed a few angles on it, but essentially they're all the same.
It did the same thing. It takes the same bullet out of the same barrel length and shot at the same speed.
All right, so cool. Here I'm going to pitch it to Mike because Mike is the ultimate naysayer, but here we go. I take a Manners EH1, a 20-inch barrel, a CGS titanium can, making the entire gun 26 inches. I slap the Leica, which is now my favorite optic. There are a lot of great optics, and there's a lot that are not in your price range or in your price range that are going to work. But right now, I love the Leica for hunting because of the light. Dude, hand loads pushing that gun at 2950. Tell me that there's a better hunting gun, Mike.
For the way you hunt.
Look at this dog.
For the way Trey hunts, I think it's a great hunting gun. And because you're able to get the velocity you're able to out of that thing, I think it works really well. And it does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
If you're consistently going after longer shots or you're going after bigger animals, then I think you need to look at a different bore diameter.
Let's save that one for a different one because that is a different podcast. We'll have that podcast.
So I also just don't wonder if you can do whatever you can do with a PRC, we'll do with a Win Mag. Like I
totally agree. So look, let's get this straight. Whatever you can do with the 300 PRC, you can do it with the 300 Win Mag 100%. If your barrel twist is correct and your reamer's correct, literally they can be the same thing. My argument is from this point, 2021, almost 2022, in a couple of days, 2022 forward, there is no more reason to buy a Win Mag. It doesn't exist by the PRC.
Yeah. So that gun that you just described for most of the people in the world that are going to hunt, that's going to work really well. I think if you're talking super lightweight hunting, like a real lightweight backpacking rifle or something like that, you got to save ounces and pounds, on that one. So there's that problem. It does jump. I mean, so for example, I made a 20-inch 338 Lapua and put a suppressor on the front end of it. And it was cool. It blew a hole in the tank. And it was designed to do exactly that at those hunting distances, to pull up and go, that is a bull moose or a grizzly bear, and I don't care. I'm putting a bullet through that and its friend behind it. And it would do that. But geez, even at a 200-pound man who's shooting a lot with a 1-inch, limb saver recoil pad on there, it moved.
Okay, so the 300 PRC does not move like that. It just jumps. When I say it jumps, the recoil is the same. It doesn't hurt your shoulder. Like I let my little girls shoot it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
The barrel jumps up in the air at your face.
Exactly, and that is what it doesn't make you flinch, but it's not smooth straight back into your shoulder. It doesn't hurt to shoot. Mine didn't hurt to shoot. It was relatively had a train axle as a barrel, even at 20 inches, but it just moved.
Yeah, and so here's one. This is the argument that Sway and I have all the time. When you're shooting on a flat range at targets, it's not comfortable. It's not fast. Like I could take a 6.5 PRC and just whap, 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 whap because it doesn't move. The 300 PRC is whap, whap, right? That's the difference. Yeah. When you're shooting at an animal, you don't notice that difference at all. The only argument you could possibly have is if you were shooting uphill, you might get scoped. The truth is, though, if you set your scope far enough right, you have it in the pocket of your shoulder, you have your diopter correct, it's not going to hit you in the nose. And the even bigger truth to that is if it's a monster,
you're not going to care.
Yeah. Monster, I'm a monster. I'm going to take I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'll
get a little
problem.
blood if I got a little blood. I'll take a little
But if you have your gun set up correct, you don't have it.
Yeah, I think it changes which scope. That Leica is a great scope, and it has generous eye relief. If you started getting a scope that had less eye relief, or you started sucking up on that gun, I think the gun that you described is a perfect hunting gun for somebody that knows what they're doing.
No. Listen to this guy. All right, so here it is, guys. Go ahead and finish why you say knows what they're doing. Because
of exactly that. You need to make sure you have the right scope to set up so you don't scope yourself. You need to be able to, handle that little bit of added weight, a little bit of that. Okay, how comfortable when we start talking hunting well, let me back it up. The only reason to have that gun is so that when you are presented that 600-yard shot, and that's what you have, you can make it ethically, kill it, and it drops, right? Because that's what that gun will do.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting 200 yards and I'm always shooting 200 yards, I don't need a Magnum anything.
Oh yeah. Listen, if we're talking tree stand hunters, this gun will absolutely do it for you, but I'm talking hunting in the West. I don't set in tree stands. I've never set in tree stands. I hunt in the West. I'm either driving or I'm walking and spotting and stalking on top of hills.
So why I say it's more of a professional's gun is because even though you're getting the same velocity as a 24-inch barrel, to make that 600 or beyond shot, you need to have time behind that gun. And that gun, not just any gun, but kind of that gun. So you understand it's drop, dope, whole 9 yards. And when you can't have a comfortable gun to shoot on the flat range or something that's hard, you don't want to shoot. That was my problem with my 20-inch lapel. I did it and I was like, oof, okay. And I knew I was going out here and it's like shooting my 44 mag and I'm putting bear loads in it. I'm going to do it and I'm going to go slow and I'm going to take a breaks.
So 300 PRC is not like that.
Okay.
All right. So I do know what you're talking about. 338 Lapua and the 44 mags is like, ouch. 300 PRC is not like that. 300 PRC is if you are with a 20-inch barrel, if you are used to a 6.5 Creedmoor and you're shooting targets and you're pink, just hitting the targets, that the Magnum 300 PRC with that, it jumps a little more. So it just means you don't stay on target. Doesn't hit you in the face, doesn't scare you, doesn't do anything. It just means you don't stay on target as much.
Okay.
And so in your mind, that's not as cool. It's not as fun and it's not as fast. You can still get all the same practice in. So
yeah, so as long as you're able to consistently go out and shoot that rifle and get comfortable behind it to make the 600 plus yard shot or meter shots, then cool. Then
so great. What we're gonna have to do is get Mike behind the 20-inch for a minute. All right, guys. So wrapping up the 300 PRC, I think it's an amazing caliber. I think it is the future. I think it does all of the damage for North American game that you can possibly use it for. And clearly some of the most elite are using it as a sniper rifle. So we know on that end, it will really work. I think if you use the correct muzzle brake or a silencer, I think you are, it 100% mitigates the recoil to where you can shoot it well and you can shoot, hit your target well and do the maximum damage. So yeah, I highly recommend the 300 PRC. I love the 300 PRC. It really fits in that I sighted in at 200 meters and I know that I can hold on his back to 5 and I'm going to hit him. And then past that, I'm going to start dialing. So, I mean, final wrap up. I know that you can have a 300 Win Mag and it's the same, but I mean, where do you fit on that, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, going forward, the PRC is the next cartridge, or it is the best 30 caliber for the majority of people. I'm still always going to say I'd prefer a Norma, or something like that, because we've changed the way those actions work now from being super difficult to now they're just as reliable and easy to operate as a standard long action. But yeah, if you need that jump out maneuver and I wanted to bang flop a lot of animals at 500 meters and in, that's a dang good gun for it. And it'll kill farther than that. But I think you got to be careful when you start talking cartridges versus bullets. But with the way that the PRC works, it is a pretty much one and done setup with the way Hornady has loaded that ammo and it going forward with its SAMI standardization with the bullets that are available. I think if you try to expand it, and my only downside to it and why I would pick a Norma over it in case of a 30 caliber is bullet technology, it seems like, is stifled with inside of 30 caliber. When you start talking longer range, you have to add weight, increasing sectional density, and basically you have to have a longer bullet. So hence the 245 out of Berger, 250 out of Hornady. Those weights struggle with case capacities that are as low as Magnums offer. So you don't really get the benefit of those new bullets that will come out in that class that are right now. We're not talking the 329 that we'll never see from Berger or some other big 300 plus grain bullet in a 338. these bullets are available right now, and that cartridge can't really take advantage of them without the really long barrel lengths. And now you kind of just said, well, why shouldn't I just shot the normal? So if you
I'm with you. That makes a valid point, guys. You can say that, but the 300 Norma recoils a lot more. So you need a heavier gun on a 300 Norma, and I argue you need a longer barrel. I don't know that yet because I haven't shot it with a shorter barrel.
But I mean that you're gonna need a longer barrel to get out of it, because anytime you start chopping the barrels way down, right, you almost go down a class. And with the Magnum and the long action, you don't really drop down to a 30-06. You could take a 30-06 or something like that and bump the barrel really far and still get that 2900, but geez, that'd be hard. You just don't have power to it. So for hunting and what we want to do in North America, that package that we talk about, that 2022 suppressor, relatively, light profile barrel, but nothing like a featherweight, nothing like the real Sporter number 1s or 2s, something like that. That's just too light. It's a perfect marriage, if you would, between case capacity, bullet, and what they did and what Hornady did, and then the way they're supporting it. And I think that's the best benefit of the PRC going forward, is the support that it has, because it's just a more modern Win Mag that's supported very, very well by the Hornady machine, and they did a really good job with it.
Yep. And the Hornady machine is number 1 right now. Don't matter if you like them or not. All right, guys. Check out Aeolus Defense, spelled AEOLUS defense.com, for your NSO, Navy Special Operations belt that we helped create for them. And any of your shot stop armor, any other merchandise that we have. Also check out AmericanOutlawNation.com and all the merch you're looking for. New shirts. We come out with a new shirt monthly, new hats, new merch, all that good stuff. New and exciting stuff coming up, guys. Check out the YouTube channel, The Last American Outlaw, the Instagram, The Last American Outlaw. We got all of the social media. Check it out for us. Like, subscribe, hit those bell notifications. We need to hit those algorithms. We appreciate you very much. Outlaw out.